There's another one it's got a strange sort of matte finish to it. It's factory, as far as I'm aware. It's a mainline 45 Bexley Model Centre, GB Models, Class 45 diesel locomotive. Can't see what that says. The Manchester Regiment. The Manx. It's a main line, so it became the Backman with a little bit of redesign in the print on the bottom of the chassis. And obviously they later redesigned the chassis to be DCC, but it remained unchanged. Obviously there's various iterations of it now, but this is another one I virtually never ran. I bought it by accident. It was advertised in the N-gauge section, and I was just after any old diesel, N-gauge diesel, BR Blue. That's all I wanted, and I was looking, see this, came at the right price, click, won the bid, and this turned up because someone had advertised it in the wrong section, which is even worse now. eBay have took it all off. It's all in railroad section. It seems quite quiet. Not exactly a pace setter, but I don't know of anyone doing conversions for these to DCC. It's not the motors anyway. Obviously you could just change it over. If the current stays below 1 amp, you could put a chip in it. Seems to run quite nice and smooth. Well, back for another round. And off they go. Smooth little runners. Again, I don't think they've done an awful lot of work, if any. They do have a bit of illumination in them, in the way of a sort of orangey bulb. Only seems to be one end, I think. They've got the continental couplings on them. It's on a little bar, so they're a bit awkward to change. Obviously they predate NEM fixings. This one's just got a little bar that will take the Euro coupling, but doesn't actually have a hoop itself. It only has a hoop on the back. But I'm sure they'll be adequate performers. I might keep them just because they're unusual. I know there is a bit of a following for them. There is a separate Facebook group, I believe. But they're not so much money that not using them a lot is going to be a waste of money, as it were. You know, they didn't cost me a lot at the time I bought them, and obviously they are of GE origination in design. These are frateschi, which I thought sounded a bit Italian, but with a bit of research they're actually Brazilian. I only have these two. I came by them per chance from someone selling them locally on Facebook. I did manage to get a coach as well, but I've never seen or found another one, or even an old historical sale of one, so finding a set coach is going to be unlikely. The coach did look a little bit out of period for diesel locomotives. It might not be, but give them a little stretch. I think we're going to get in towards the end of the box now. That one is pretty much done. I'm filling it back up. The other one has just got crap in it and parts and bits and other odds and sods that don't fit anywhere else. So we'll move back to the newer locos. that are still on DC or have had the chips in them. Well, probably the world's most famous steam locomotive. This is a TTS fitted railroad version. I bought this at the same time as I got the Class 40. I think the pair of them cost me less than £130–140 back then. As I said before in the previous clip, I think I've seen these advertised for about £110 or £120 used. This has literally not even been run in since I bought it in 2018, because, well, back then I don't think I even had this out to use, the board. It was still in the back of a van, hidden behind that, and before that it was in a shed. It sounds a bit high pitched, that does, to me, but bit of wheel slip simulation, I guess. Fireman loading up the coal. Probably end up doing that again myself this year. No further forward, getting central heating. I tried to get the eco grant, but they're all thin on the ground, and all they want to do is fit this air source heat pumps, which I do not want in my house. Just backed her onto the Mark IIs, and she actually derailed going forward and hopped back on the rails. Don't know why. It was a bit of wheel slip there to start with, so whether it was pulling it back. These are obviously back to Loco drive now, not tender drive. The tender is very light. It does need a little bit of weight putting around it. It can be fitted around the speaker and chip. You could also do with a foot plate there across the tender and the cab to improve things. Obviously you need a little bit of clearance, as you can see. Going into even a third radius turn, it's a bit tight. Still left the foam in the back. Let's give her some beans. Speed step 10. Pulled round there better than the 47s. Well, here we are trying out some of the intermodal type wagons, and as suspected, I have put longer couplings on, not intentionally, it's all I had, but the centre have solid coupling bars that you screw into the gearbox, so you could change them to knuckle couplings. These are basically standard British third radius curves. Now as you come around each sort of quarter section, there's a tight spot, not going in for some reason. It's round about here, just before the next joint. You can hear it binding, as literally the wheel flanges are, tightening against the edge of the track, as they do in real world. But it's the clearance issue here, where the flange of the wheel then starts to rub against mounting for the coupling. The bar is at its maximum, and what happens if you had any, there's a little bit of droop on this because obviously the support's further underneath, but on their own individually they will coast round, but any slight little imperfection in your track, because these are quite small wheels anyway, but you'll hear, and you'll see just there, the wheel is now starting to rub on the coupling housing. It's not a fault of the manufacturer, because obviously American track tends to be larger larger radius. I haven't even had it going round the second, but it will pop as it's coming out the curve. Now I don't know whether there's a fix to get around it so that I can use it on the third as well as fourth. Obviously I have got fourth radius, and obviously flex track that would make it any radius you want, but this is a stock 4-foot board, and I think fourth radius literally is right on the lip of the edge of the board. I can't remember whether I trimmed this board down for me lad to fit under his bed or not, but what will happen as it's coming in and out, for some reason the front wheels will jump on the straight where that carriage is, but the track's not pinned there. Obviously there's no weight in them even though they're metal bodied, but they will. Sometimes you can see it start to lift when they're on the limit. But the other problem with having the bars is there's no give in them. If I move this one, it's being transmitted to the other one. So if that truck derails and I lift it to try and put this one in, I also lift this and knock that one out as well. So I might change them to knuckle couplings to give them a little bit more flex. Will it help? Will it make any difference at all? But yeah, I mean, it's not going to deter me. There's always a way round problems. So I broke them apart again and unscrewed them from the solid tie bars, and I've just basically took the lead unit and the end unit and back to back them so that they're knuckle to knuckle, and that extra pivotal movement you've got between the coupling and then obviously where it's mounted seems to have, I might eat my words now, you're still, the wheel truck's on its limit, and because that bar's not rigid as it's coming out, it doesn't kick that one off now. I might eat my words when I put another 2 or 3 on, but you can see there's not so much resistance there because obviously the wheel trucks aren't pushing against the rail as they're going round. But even if I tried to Dremel a little bit more out of here, the problem is you're pretty much already, if I give it a little bit more here, that wheel's going to touch that anyway, so they are, within their design maximum. There's, really not a lot to be gained by trying to, there's not a lot there to take off. If you just give it a sort of very gentle grinding with a Dremel or something, give you 1/2 mil more, and then you'd be on the limit anyway, because the back wheel's going to have the same issue binding against the back. But it seems if I change the couplings from solid rods where you've got that maximum pivot and then that's it. Now we've got a coupling, basically a flex point here as well, and they are up here a little bit more. When I had them on the couplings, these two are virtually touching. So I could experiment and say keep one long and then go for one short shank. See if that would sort of close the gap. But when you offer these up, there's not a huge difference, but it has pushed us out a little bit more. They are quite closely coupled in prototypical, but obviously third radius ain't prototypical, is it? So you ain't got a lot of choice. So the other compromise is obviously just to put a short shank one side along the other and see how we go there, or even if there is a magnetic coupling like the Hunt coupling sort of thing that would fit in them, or I'll have to make my own. Who knows? It's only a piece of plastic trimmed down with a hole in it for pivot, magnet on the end. It might work, you never know. Anyway, we've got a lot more problems to overcome before we need to worry about that, so I'm going to see what I can put together and run a container rake.